Welcome back to Guitarnivore. My name is Scott, and today we are going to do a mod video. It's going to be a two-parter. I'll explain in just a second, but I got this Squier Affinity PJ bass from Zounds not too long ago, and Musiclily reached out to me and said, hey, would you like us to sponsor a video for a guitar mod? And I said, I've got the perfect guitar to do it with. There's nothing wrong with any of the hardware or electronics on this guitar. It works fine. I like it. But black on black, as classy as it is with a maple fretboard, it's kind of boring. Plus, I'd like to see if I can liven up the pickups with some Arctech Alnico 5 bass pickups that they sent me. Before we get started, let me show you everything that Musiclily sent out. First up, we got the pick guard. That's going to be a surprise for the last video because that's really going to make it pop. Next up, we have the tuners. I went with the black because I think they'll contrast nice with the headstock. Next, we have some new black knobs because they'll go good with the pick guard I've chosen. We've got some black screws. The pick guard did come with some screws, but I might go with black. Then we have the bridge. This is a black high-mass bridge with brass saddles. We have the black string retainer button. We have a gold jack plate. We have a gold neck plate. And here I got a brass nut. We've got some locking strap pegs. And lastly, these are the PJ pickups. You'll see those in the last video. Let's get started. In this video, I'm going to be primarily focusing on the headstock, but we're going to be replacing the tuners, the bridge, the nut, the string retainer, the strap buttons, and the neck plate. And in the next video, we're going to do the pickups, pick guard, and the knobs. So stay tuned for that. That should be shortly after this video. So let me get a better angle on the headstock, and let's get started. When I put this guitar back together, I'll be using the same strings because the strings aren't that old. They sound just fine. Plus, I took a bunch of measurements of everything, and for consistency, when we do the sound test in the second video, I want the same strings on there. First, let's take off the string retainer. Always be careful when you're using power tools. You can come out too fast and strip the holes. As you saw, the nut already came out. For complete transparency, I already pre-fit the other nut and I did some work on it. And I'll explain how I did that when I install the new nut. So let's take that nut off of there. Let's flip the guitar over. If you're not familiar with Musiclily, Musiclily is one of the biggest guitar parts distributors in China. They started in 2013 with just a very small shop and a shelf. What they've grown in today is a big distributor with all sorts of guitar parts for your needs at affordable prices. And they've got a few different lines of parts. They've got the basic parts, the Pro line, and the Ultra line. And obviously the Ultra line is going to be your best quality. And then the Pro's kind of mid-tier. And the basic is kind of cheaper parts for those that are really on a budget. If you can afford it, I highly suggest going either the Pro parts or the Ultra parts. Sometimes the basic parts is exactly what you get, very basic parts. They aren't really upgrades as much as they are just replacement parts. Alright, I've got the tuners off there. I'm going to set them to the side here. And to get these bushings out of here, I'm going to just simply take a small wooden dowel. Now this is a staining brush handle. I've just cut off the staining brush because it was used, and I like to hold down to these for things like this. So I'm going to go right along the edge of each bushing and just kind of tap it out. And if you want to make sure that you don't lose parts or they don't bounce all over the place, put a rag up underneath your work area. Again, for this project, I did pre-fit the new bushings because they were a little bit tighter than the stock ones. So what I did is, if you have the means, which a lot of people don't, but a regular guitar, you can use a reamer like this and you go through and you twist it and it widens up your hole right here. However, These are almost 3/4 inch holes, and 3/4 inch reamers are not cheap. So what I did, I took an X-Acto knife and I carefully went around the edge right here and I shaved it a little bit. And then afterwards, I took this is actually just a piece of tubing that some solder came in, put some 180 grit sandpaper in, and I went along the edge like that and kind of sanded it out just enough that the new bushings fit. So let's pop the new bushings in. And I've got a method here so I don't have to use a hammer, because with the neck on, pounding it on there is just, I'm terrified of damaging the headstock or splitting it. So I've got the new bushings here. Of course, in every package of Musiclily products, you get a Musiclily pick. And as you can see, the bushings, from this angle, you still got a little space there. So I'm just going to set them in there for right now, as far as I can get them in by hand. But then this method, I'm kind of going to use a pressing method. I'm going to put this piece of little wood on bottom, it's a piece of cedar, and I'm going to put this on top, and I'm going to use a C-clamp, and I'm just going to slowly press them in. I'm going to use my fingernail to measure and make sure it's evenly in there. Take it back out, and perfect. Next one. You can bang on them with a hammer all you want. Like I said, you just got to be careful. And I'm just terrified of breaking this practically brand new bass guitar. And all my bushings are in there nice. Let's flip it over and start installing the tuning machines. If you don't have one of these, this is just a little metal tray with a magnet on the bottom, and you see the screws in there. I can just toss them in there as I go, and I don't lose them. Now I did some measuring before I did this, and it looks like some of the holes aren't quite lining up, which is odd to me. Let's take a look at one of these. Measurements look good when I first started, but now it looks like I may have to fill those holes and then re-drill them. Alright, so I'm going to have to fill these holes, and to do that I'm going to use toothpicks, and I'm going to glue them in, let it set, cut them off, and then we'll drill new holes, I suppose. It wasn't planned. Sometimes these things are not planned. So we've got these toothpicks here. I'm going to cut off about 3/4 of an inch of it. I'm going to take some Titebond. Put a little bit in each hole. I didn't plan on having to do this, but sometimes things don't fit exactly like you plan or expect. Sometimes things aren't a perfect drop-in, and this is one of those cases. Now if this was an actual Fender bass, they might drop right in. Once these dry, we'll cut off the excess and drill the new holes. Make sure everything lines up perfectly and drill the new holes. And while we're waiting for that, let's install the button, and then we'll do the nut in just a little while. So we've got the new spring retainer button here, and the screw that comes with it. You've got these little lines here that the strings line up with. Try to get them as close as possible. And I went with this black because I thought it would contrast nice with the maple headstock. Now I do have the brass nut, and like I said, I did do some pre-fitting with this brass nut. And it's all polished up nice, but it's a little rough when you first get it. And when you put it in there, it was a little too tight. I might have opened this up a little more than I should have, but that's okay. And it was sticking out a little bit on the sides there. So when I put it in there, I put the strings on it to tighten it down and hold it down well. And then I put some tape along the edges, right along the side, so I didn't damage the wood. And then I took a wireless Dremel, not with this polishing wheel, but with a sanding cylinder on it. And I ground everything down to make it fit good. And then I polished it up. And I made sure everything was measured correctly, same height and everything as the other nut. Now, as you can see, it's a little loose. I'm going to score the bottom with something, and then I'm just going to use a tiny bit of super glue to hold it in place. I didn't want it to be too tight, and then when I put it in there, it cracks your nut slot. Now it's soft metal, so I can score it with a simple screwdriver. And I'm just scoring it to give the super glue places to hold on to and bond with when I put it in there. Everybody's got their way of doing things, and everybody thinks everything that they do is right, and there's no better way or different way to do it. I'm just going to use a very little bit of super glue. And that looks like a lot right now, but it's okay because I'm going to spread it out a little bit here and take some of that off of there. Now you don't want to have to do this multiple times, so it's important to get it in there perfectly the first time. That looks about right. I'm going to let that sit and dry. Let's switch angles. Let's put the new bridge on. All right, let's take the old bridge off. As always, you got factory dust up underneath there. There's your grounded wire. Let's take out this new bridge. Carefully take off this piece of paper because that's made so it doesn't scratch it up. 5 screws come underneath the pad there. And it does come with another Allen wrench, so you might need to adjust the saddle height. And I'll be adjusting all that stuff once I put the strings back on. And start with the 2 outside ones. This was a direct fit, which is good. And one thing I had to consider when I was measuring the saddle height is the thickness of this bridge. This bridge is not nearly as thick here. Next, let's flip it around. I think my nut's good, it's not going to fall out. And let's replace the neck plate. Let's take a look at the screws and compare them. The new screws look to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to do a test fit on it. Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to do a height test, and then I'm going to get my drill, measure the width of this, measure the width of this, and I'm going to drill them out very carefully. So these need to be drilled out about a 1/2 millimeter bigger. Now the height difference between these two isn't going to make that big of a difference because I'm also going to have this plastic plate on there, which is going to raise this screw up a little bit higher. So I'm going to measure with my drill bit. I'm going to put a little piece of tape right here so I know when to stop. I'm going to go slowly. And yes, I'm going to use that plastic backing piece because it came with it. All right, moment of truth. Everything looks good, thank goodness. Next, we're going to take the strap buttons off. What I planned on using was these Marvel locking strap locks and nuts, but I seem to have misplaced the other part here. I swear I had both of them. Where I lost it, I don't know. But how these work, this is your strap button. Put it in here, obviously. And then these pop right on it. And essentially when you go to take off the strap, you can pop that and just pull it off like that. But I lost one of these pieces. I swear I had it. Maybe I didn't. But if it wasn't included, in that case, all you have to do is contact Musiclily. They got great customer service and they'll send you out a replacement. It's really that easy. You can contact them on a Facebook Musiclily club group, or you can contact them directly. 99% of the time, you tell them your order number and they will replace that. So I'm going to have to look for that. But in the meantime, I do have some simple gold strap buttons we're going to put on here. And the screw fits great anyway, so that's a plus. Oh, there's my screw that I thought I lost. Don't forget your felt. I almost did. I would have realized it after I got it on there and had to take it back off. I gotta readjust this drill so it stops when it's supposed to. Next, we're going to do the jack plate. So jack plate, super easy. If you've replaced the jack plate before, it's not rocket science. We're back. I gave it enough time to dry. You can see where the old holes were. And we're going to start lining up everything else. Drilling a pilot hole in each one. So making sure they're all lined up nice and straight. And there we go. You can't even tell that I had to re-drill the holes. Looking good. The nuts looking good. Everything's looking nice. As you saw, not everything always goes as planned. So I had to re-drill some holes, got everything lined up, but everything so far is looking good. I wish I could find that strap lock peg, but I don't know. It may not have even been on there. I can't remember. So that's going to do it for this video. Next video, we're going to do the pickups, pick guard, and knobs, and then we'll do the final review and a sound test. So stick around for the next one. We'll see you soon.